Hello, everyone. I'm Carlos Carnicero Raballen, and I want to welcome you to another video talk of Future is Blue, the weekly newsletter promoted by Funcas Europe and Agenda Pública. Today, we're here to talk about the Green Deal and how the coronavirus is having an impact on the deal. And for that, we are joined by Jorge Núñez Ferrer, who's a senior research fellow at CEPS think tank. So Jorge, thank you for joining us. And let me start by asking you quite of a basic question, but I think it's very important, is what's the impact of coronavirus on the green agenda?
Yes, okay. Thank you for having me. I mean, the impact is substantial. I mean, it has, the reason is simple. I mean, the Green Deal was a kind of, it really started as a kind of intention by von der Leyen to find her place. After having an election was very, very narrow. She didn't have a lot of support. She came new and she needed a mission for the EU, which is good because the EU lost a bit its direction after the crisis and people put in the question. So you need a mission. She decided to launch the Green Deal. Which was, at the end, it passed the parliament and it was somehow accepted, but it had to become concrete. And the pandemic, what is happening with the crisis, there is the need now to really not only bring back the economy to work, but we need to reconsider what to do with it because the economy was not in perfect shape. Things are changing. We are in the middle of kind of industrial revolution, a technology revolution, a data revolution, and we are behind in several aspects. So it was clear that things have to move and change. With the pandemic, there is a lot of support that has been released now, and there is this sense that we need to take this moment to move ahead into the kind of objectives that the EU and the member states had put themselves, that they were looking into the future for that, but they were not really going into full speed. And now there is all of this funding. And the question is how not to be honest, how not to waste another crisis. That is the real message. So now the Green Deal has an impulse on this because things become concrete. We need to take decisions on what are we going to use the money for and the rescue for, and we cannot afford to go back to a position where we are declining. We need to face the challenges that are ahead, and this is going not to be easy, but it brings the Green Deal really in the forefront. If you want to look at sustainability, digital transformation, a lot of issues that are in the Green Deal that goes beyond only about sustainability. It goes really on fundamental parts of how the economy works, how energy is produced, how system works, and a word, for example, that nearly didn't exist before in a formal and official way is the word circular economy, for example, which at the moment the United Nations is using quite a lot. I'm inside on a project on this, and so these things are becoming concrete, and people are realizing there has to be a change. Now, we have to be careful. Plans are not out from the countries. It's not easy to switch models. We don't even know what it really means. So there is a lot to be done, but there is an understanding that it shouldn't be the usual recovery.
Yes, in fact, I think the level of ambition is going up rather than going to the bottom. So in a few days, we're going to see the European Parliament voting for a resolution about the climate law, and the target for reducing gas emissions is 60%, rather than the original proposal of the Commission, which was 50% by 2030. Then the Commission said 55%. The Parliament is saying 60%, and these are big numbers. So is it realistic to considering, we know very well the magnitude of the crisis that we are seeing now, and in fact the crisis that we don't know when it's going to finish. And are those targets realistic? Because I assume it's easy to put them on a paper in a resolution, but it's something else to make them a reality afterwards. So what's your view on that?
Yes, I mean, the parliament, we have a problem in the European Parliament. I mean, although I am a great fan of the parliament, but the European Parliament still has too much a role of a kind of conscience, because it doesn't have to implement things. So it's easy to put 60, you know, it sounds good. But it is true that from some specialists, and I'm not an engineer, I cannot not say so, but we meet a lot, we have meetings, and they are really questioning how realistic it is to put 60. It's good to have ambitions, but we have to be careful then afterwards not to fail, because this is also dangerous. 50, 55 is quite strong. We are telling now that in 2020 we have reached 23% compared to 1990, but we have had a financial crisis and COVID, which makes the numbers, of course, quite comfortable. When afterwards, if the economy restarts, we may have a problem. So 55 is also very ambitious. I think that more than these targets, what I find interested in the resolution of the parliament, I was reading here the amendments that the parliament is proposing, and there are many. And the reason is, and they are voting here, they are actually going to work on the climate law, the so-called climate law. You see, the climate law was produced too fast. I think that the issue was that von der Leyen was a little bit too ambitious to say in 100 days. And in 100 days, they produced a document that had very little content. Now the parliament has taken advantage of this. And when you see the amendments, you see that they are introducing a lot of precision in there. You may agree or not. The 60% for me is like a number that has a lot of ambition, and you can quarrel for ages about it. But I found interesting is that they are introducing real, recalling the Commission about targets that were written in the past, about things that have to be finished, about areas where they have to intervene, and they have added a lot of real wording to the fluffy one of the climate law, the original paper. So they are calling on the Commission and the Council and others to actually put actions behind their words. So the climate law doesn't stay as an ambition; it has actual promises inside with numbers. And I found this very interesting to see. Of course, it's going to be a very hard debate, because what the parliament is having as amendments are from different committees. They are not saying the same thing, so they have to vote on the amendment they want to.
Correct.
So it's interesting. But what it means is that this parliament action and all the committees acting and putting these precise requirements where they are calling on specific policies to do specific things shows you how important the Green Deal is becoming. But yeah, if it's 60 or 55, I'm not. This is not exciting me. I want to see concrete things.
Concrete results. Let me ask you about something concrete, because the magnitude of change for the European economy, it's very important, and in particularly for the energy sector. So I've read that the level of investment that is required in the energy sector is about 350 billion over the next decade compared to the previous decade. So are there going to be funds available to produce this transformation?
Yes, in fact, I mean, one has to be careful with these numbers. You know, it's very. I always see these huge numbers that are being produced. But first of all, you know, one of the things that a lot of the numbers miss is that you need to anyway. There are many areas in the energy sector that need, for example, to reinvest. You have to upgrade things, you have to change things. So a lot of costs that are running costs that will be incurred anyway, and this has to be taken into account, that not all is absolutely new. The other thing is that I don't like these numbers because they scare people. And for example, a lot of regions that have energy sectors that are losing money, power stations that are losing money, particularly the coal regions. And these places have potential to be changed because they have a lot of infrastructure. They have the energy transformers and all the tools that are necessary for large power stations, but they have the wrong power station there. This means that, in fact, using even tools that use financial sources that are even private with investment sources and so on, you are able, there are different business models to shift to another kind of power station, and also to build a factory of batteries or to whatever. You know, there are several alternatives. What we have is these are difficult things to do, and especially syndicates and workers unions and miners unions are very scared about this. But they have to also understand that if they do not change, they will decline. They will die in 10 years or in 15, they will die. And then the region will have nothing. So you need to have the regions transform, and the money is there. We have the package, we have the Just Transition Fund, we have the cohesion funds, we have, I mean, the money will be there. The question is, will they have the guts to use the funding for a transformation rather than for rescuing things that will die anyway in 10 years?
So it's the president of the commission said, we're not letting anyone behind in this process. The green transformation is very challenging. Opportunities are great, but the risks are high as well. And you mentioned the coal producing regions. And so it's really up to them to grab the opportunity. In other words, are there going to be resources available? You mentioned some mechanisms, the Just Transition Fund. So the resources are there, and then it's up to others and up to these regions to, you know, be brave and embrace transformation and change.
We have examples. In fact, we have been asked. I'm working with a team of people that we are trying to look at what regions have done, how they managed, and what mistakes were done, and where it worked. And we have very interesting regions. We have one, it's actually in Bulgaria, that is a very declining region. And then they managed to, now it's the center of electric bikes covering many countries. They have, the private investors have spent 2 billion in the area building companies, and all because they actually changed track. And this, I'm speaking here about coal regions, about declining industry, former heavy industry and polluting industries. And they have, at the end, they decided to take action. And there are other regions like this. And because there is so much support, you can do it. But of course, it's not easy. But it is also in the interest of the people working in these regions. We are not asking the miners to become computer programmers. We are asking, they will have to work in other sectors. But you need effectively a just transition, because you have to tell them a concrete support that are going to help them move into another dimension, and not to tell them, we are going to come here, we are going to close this factory, or this, this factory, it could be a polluting industry, or your power stations, and we will put other people coming from another place there, and you are going to be unemployed and goodbye, you know, because you're just a miner. It is true. And there are tools for this, and we have had this kind of industrial transformation in other places, even here in Belgium where we are. In Flanders, there was a huge transformation, and you have the support. We have the coronavirus funds, we have the Just Transition Fund, we have the cohesion funds. We have, it's a question of daring and coherence. And the main danger and the main problem I see is the capacity of administrations and regional authorities and to absorb the complexity of these changes, because where they were successful, there were leaders behind that were really working very hard. They were very convinced, and you need to create the environment to do this. And it's not easy. My message is really not one that it's going to be easy, and not one that you're going to necessarily succeed. But one thing is clear, that if they don't do it, the change, especially the coal regions, they are going to decline anyway. So if you want to be unemployed in 10 years without any prospects, because you have already wasted all the money for the corona and all the opportunities are not taken today, you have an opportunity that is unique. You don't take it, you will face it in 10 years, and maybe then there will be no money. But what is clear is that coal power stations are at loss at the moment, are making losses, and they are becoming less and less competitive over time. So even without, it's nothing to do with carbon taxes and so on, really they are getting out of business. So they will face this. So this is one message on this. And you can have other sectors where you have a similar message, and it will be a pity not to take the opportunity that you can have the funds to do a just transition fund. It means one where people are not left behind, because we are taking this and we are accepting, which is very hard for the European Union, we are accepting an important public debt levels. We are accepting this, which is breaking the hope of the EU not to be highly indebted. But if you are highly indebted, you have to have a lot of success. This is the message that people don't understand. We are getting indebted and saying, oh yeah, now we are getting indebted, and before they let us down, yeah, but before they let us down because there was a fear of that. Now we realize we cannot escape that. But if you realize you cannot escape that, you have to create the condition to handle this debt, which means you produce the right economy, and it can be a more just and more modern economy, but you have to create something that is profitable and useful. That is, and we have a unique opportunity. We can miss it again, but it will be, it gets at a certain point a bit dangerous. We miss the opportunities for, again, you know.
It's an opportunity we need to take advantage of.
Spain, Italy,
sure.
But this means not only money, it means transformation, reform, structural reforms, really take from, as the Spanish say, when you take from the horns and the opportunity and work for it. You know,
I think your message is very valuable. In particular, I like what you said about the management challenge for policymakers, and to see the opportunity and embrace change. It's not only about having the resources, but rather that being ready to change and to have the right people in the right place doing it well. Great. I think this was very interesting. Jorge Núñez Ferrer, Senior Research Fellow at CEPS think tank. I want to thank you for joining the Future is Blue video talk, and I'm sure there will be more opportunities to analyze the next steps of the Green Agenda.
Okay, thank you very much, and
thanks a lot.
Have a nice evening. Okay, bye-bye.